everyone. I'm Dina, the Implementations Manager at Sellercloud. It's really nice to be here. I've been with Sellercloud for almost 9 years now. It's actually been very enjoyable for me to meet so many of the people that I've been speaking to for so long now, put names to faces. For those of you who I did not meet yet, please come over after and say hi. All right. We have with us here today Sanjay and Rudam. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do at Amazon?
Yeah, hey everyone, thank you so much for having us. So I'm Sanjay. I lead product and business for the Amazon multi-channel fulfillment team. I'll tell you a little bit about MCF in just a moment, but I've been at Amazon for 6 years now, and great to be back in an e-commerce conference after such a long time. So nice to meet all of you and looking forward to the chat.
And my name is Rotem. I'm on the business development team, and I'm focused on e-commerce partnerships and technology partnerships, like the one we have with Sellercloud. And it was great to see today people in person after a year and a half that we are working from home. So excited to be here.
Yeah, it's actually really exciting to be part of a conference after,
That you can't hide behind the screen, sitting at your home office.
It's also nice to get dressed sometimes, right? All right, so we're here today to discuss a little bit about multi-channel fulfillment, or as some people term it, MCF. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So MCF is our service that helps sellers fulfill orders on any of their sales channels, regardless of whether they sell on Amazon. So our customers are sellers like yourself, where you may have your own brand website, you may sell on other marketplaces, and you can use Amazon's fulfillment network to store your inventory and fulfill it on any of the channels that you may have.
And what was the market demand to build such an option?
Yeah, I think like the past several years, we've seen this general trend among sellers where they may have started by just selling on a single channel. Maybe it was Amazon.com, maybe it was their own website, but increasingly there's this trend towards selling on multiple channels. And from our perspective, the way to be successful in selling on multiple channels is really to elevate the customer experience no matter where your customers are buying your products from. And so to us, we really think about and sort of obsess over how do we enable 1-2-day shipping on any of your channels? How do we ensure that we meet the requirements of your other channels? And how do we ensure that we have very competitive pricing relative to all the other fulfillment providers that you may want to have? So that's sort of the big value propositions that we think our service has, but really we're just responding to how do we make the customer experience on any channel that you may sell on really world-class.
Okay, Sellercloud recently upgraded their API to accommodate the changes made by Amazon, and we just want to explain to everyone what those changes are and how they would affect their seller performance.
Sure, so I can take this one. So basically our goal is that every seller out there will have an easy solution to integrate with Amazon MCF if he wants to use us in order to fulfill his orders that happen off Amazon. And Sellercloud for a while now had a really good integration with Amazon MCF, which basically allows sellers to integrate all their sales channels into Sellercloud, and from Sellercloud to choose rules on how to fulfill your orders. So for example, they can choose to fulfill their orders, the sellers can choose to fulfill orders with Amazon MCF for specific sales channels or marketplaces. And now we work together to really update this integration and include new features that we launched this year. So at the moment, the integration with Sellercloud really allows sellers to integrate all their sales channels, no matter on what marketplaces they're selling, and also if they're selling on their own website. So when an order comes in, it automatically goes to us with flags, so we know exactly what rules we need to obey when we are fulfilling this order. And the main point is really to take off all the logistics from you and like transfer to us all this pain of sending orders, fulfilling on time, no need to do anything manual. So that's the main point.
Okay. In other words, you're basically saying that Amazon's another 3PL option.
Yeah, in a way, we invested years in FBA, right? And now we open the door for sellers that's selling off Amazon to use these services. We use the same smart warehouses and algorithms, but now we allow you to fulfill all your orders, so you don't have to sell on Amazon.com in order to use that.
Right. And just to clarify, I know a lot of you already are familiar with the multi-channel fulfillment options where Sellercloud could set up different after-order plugins or order exports that could automatically ship your orders to Amazon. Obviously, some differences are is that you could change the way it's being sent with different rules that they offer. You want to tell us a little bit about how the MCF pricing works?
Sure. So we have a very straightforward pricing. We launched a new website dedicated for multi-channel fulfillment, supplychain.amazon.com. So when you go to the website, there is a pricing tab, and you can download the full rate card. Basically, you can see based on the product that you sell and what's the speed that you want us to fulfill the order. So we have the 3 to 5 days, 2 day, 1 day. It will be based on the speed, the size of the item, the weight, and the number of items within the order. So the price is very competitive, but it's different from FBA. It's a different rate card, and so basically you can check it out and then compare it to other solutions that you're considering.
Yeah, and the one thing I'd add to that is it's really a pay-as-you-go model. So there isn't any upfront contract. There isn't any lock-in that you have to use us for a certain amount or commit to a certain amount of inventory or units. It's fully pay-as-you-go. So you can really scale it up or scale it down depending on your actual business usage.
And it's similar to the standard FBA where there's storage fees and things like that.
Yeah, so the storage fees and everything else is identical amongst FBA, and the reason for that is we really think of it as a single pool of inventory to fulfill any of your channels. So the storage fee applies exactly the same, inbounding, all of that is exactly the same between MCF and FBA. The only difference is if it fulfills through MCF, we have that rate card that we just mentioned.
Okay. I just wanted to point out one thing. I know that in the past, a lot of clients are having issues with tracking not being uploaded to the selling channels accurately because the tracking numbers coming from Amazon MCF weren't trackable. That's no longer an issue just because Amazon's now shipping with standard shipping carriers like UPS, FedEx, so any selling channel that you're updating the tracking to will recognize these tracking numbers. Talking about tracking, shipping, you want to just tell us what shipping speeds Amazon offers with the MCF program?
Yeah, so we offer Prime-like ship speeds, and the way that we think about that is, we have fulfillment centers that are spread out all across the nation, and we operate every single day of the week, we deliver every single day of the week, and we have 3 ship speeds that we offer to our sellers. The first is what we call priority, so that ships within, or delivers within 1 business day after we ship. We have expedited, which is 2 business days after we ship, and then we have standard, which is 3 to 5 business days after we ship. So those are the 3 ship speeds, and as we mentioned before, you'll just pay different fees depending on which ship speed you choose for your order.
Okay, and is there an option to ship from the US to international?
We do have that, yeah. So for today in the US, we offer exports on media products. So we define media today as books, music, videos, DVDs. And so we're able to offer delivery of those products to, I forget the exact number of countries, but pretty much any country that Amazon.com can ship to. So pretty much everywhere, we can do that for the US. I will say too, MCF is not just available in the US, it's also available in 9 other marketplaces, including in Europe, Japan, Australia. And so within Europe, we're able to fulfill orders all across the EU. And then Japan and Australia, we're able to do domestic orders there. So you get sort of that same level of service, no matter which marketplace you're selling in.
And I know we have a lot of clients who are very excited to start selling on Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Is that also an option there? Is that something in the works?
At the moment, we're not available in those marketplaces, but certainly we'd love to get to a point where we are available lockstep with anywhere that Amazon.com is. So nothing yet, but I think that would be a great idea.
Okay. And what about like when customers are shipping the order, what does it show on the return label? Like, does it show that it's coming from Amazon? Does it show that it's coming from the seller?
Yeah, so today when you, so there's kind of a couple settings that we can sort of talk through. By default, when you use Amazon MCF, it will ship today in an Amazon box, and on the exterior part of that box, it'll have your shipping label. The top of that shipping label will be your own merchant name, so this is the same name that you have at Amazon, and there will be a return address to an Amazon fulfillment center. Now, with that said, the way that we think about it is it's your order, it's your customer, it's your sales channel, so you have the choice of where you want that inventory to be returned to. Many of our sellers choose to just have the inventory directly sent back to themselves, and they manage that through whatever channel they sell on. Some of them also choose to have that inventory sent back to Amazon's fulfillment centers, in which case we'll receive that inventory just like we do any other return, process it, and then let the seller know that we have that inventory back in stock. With that said, kind of like getting into like the next sort of like features that we now have with MCF, in order to support as many sales channels as possible, we've introduced a couple of new features to MCF that we think are really exciting for sellers. The first is unbranded packaging. So this is a huge feature request that we've gotten around, hey, if I have my own sales channel, I don't want an Amazon box to show up to my customer's door, which we think makes total sense. And so we've implemented that this year. It's currently still kind of in a beta phase, but the exciting thing is any seller who uses Sellercloud doesn't have to deal with our wait list. They can get directly into this program and start shipping their orders using unbranded packaging. So your customer will just receive a plain cardboard box without any reference to Amazon at all. The second thing that we've done with MCF2 to make this available to any of the sales channels that you have is to recognize that Amazon Logistics, which is our like last mile carrier, so this is like the Amazon truck that shows up at your door, we know that some sales channels don't recognize that as a valid tracking number. And so we also now have a feature where you can actually block Amazon Logistics from being used for whichever orders you want. That does come at a 5% surcharge, but it is an option where if you have a sales channel where you don't want to use Amazon Logistics, you can now block that from being used. So those two things together, we think like create this customer experience for yourself where you can now kind of confidently use MCF on a sales channel without having to worry about maybe the Amazon brand sort of getting in the way of that like customer experience that you want.
And I'll just add to that these two new features, the unbranded packaging and the blocking Amazon Logistics as a carrier, so you don't get the tracking number of Amazon, those two features can be controlled from Sellercloud dashboard. So you don't even need to go to your Seller Central account. You can just set it as a rule on Sellercloud. And then every time we get an order from Sellercloud, it's being flagged with the rules that you set. So then we know not to ship it in the Amazon truck or not to ship it in an Amazon box. So it's very easy to use and you do it once. So for a specific marketplace, you set this rule. For another marketplace, you can set another rule. You do it once, and then we just follow the instructions that come through the API. So everything is automated.
Yeah, this actually brings up a lot of questions that apply to clients. First of all, very often people have different company names per channel that they're on. Is that an option to set that as part of the return address, like on an order level?
Yeah, it's a good question. Today, anyway, we deal with MCF sort of at a Seller Central account level. So the Seller Central account that you have is what sort of governs your usage of MCF, and we use that merchant name. Today, we don't have the ability to customize the shipping label for a specific order, but it's a good feature request. I hadn't heard that one, so you can add it to the roadmap.
Okay. Yeah. And does the sales, I guess, generated by MCF affect the seller's IPI score?
So it can definitely have a positive impact on the IPI score. Basically, everyone that sells on Amazon.com, I guess, know what an IPI score is. It basically check how efficient are you with managing your inventory. So if, for example, you have your sales are very slow, but you have a lot of inventory, it might bring down your IPI score. Now, what happens when you use MCF, we got all your orders that happen outside of Amazon. So when we calculate the IPI score, to make it very simple, is that we take all your sales and divide them into your inventory. So it seems like you have much more sales compared to just the Amazon.com sales. And this can have a positive impact on the inventory because you have more sales for the same amount of inventory. I have an echo?
You said you wanted to sing.
Exactly,
so
I wanted
thought
to
you
sing.
tried.
Yeah. Oh, you don't want me to sing.
All right. Do the products need to be listed on Amazon if they're being sent into MCF?
They do not. You do today need to create a listing in your Seller Central account. You can do that through the user interface. You can do that through the APIs, like however you want to create your listing. But you don't actually need to list that product on Amazon.com. We do have sellers today, and you can absolutely use MCF as a standalone fulfillment solution without needing to actually sell on Amazon at all.
Would they be restricted from products that let's say they need to be have an approved brand for or something like that? Like, does it need to be an approved item that?
Yeah, so today we still go through the same catalog checks that we would have as if to list on Amazon.com. So yes, if you're selling certain brands, you may need to get approvals on that. So that today still does exist. Certainly we want to move to a direction where we just really treat ourselves as a standalone fulfillment solution where you don't have to go through that. But today, because we have that single inventory pool, it's that single Seller Central account, we're still sort of going through the same listing rules that you're probably already familiar with on FBA. But once the thing has been listed, then it's just you can use MCF fully as a standalone solution without needing to sell on Amazon.
I'll add an example here that let's say you sell on Amazon.com jeans and size small, medium, and large are really best sellers for you, so you focus on that and you sell only these 3 sizes on Amazon.com. But then you have also your own website, and on your own website you have also all the end use cases, right? You have the triple XL and you have the extra small. We can ship it for you. You can send it to us and we can ship it for you. It doesn't mean that now you need to start selling these sizes on Amazon.com. So you can sell certain SKUs on Amazon.com and use us to fulfill them, but then you can use other SKUs on other marketplaces or sales channels and we can fill them as well. So you don't need to upload the list to the Amazon.com. You can block it from being shown on your Amazon.com.
And that's like a setting?
It's
on
in
the
a
product
setting,
level?
yeah. You basically create a list and then you say that the launch date is in 3 years from now. So then it doesn't show on your Amazon.com, basically.
Oh, okay. In Sellercloud, we do have a field for the launch date of a product, so you could just set that, and I guess when we post the item,
Here you go.
that's how it works?
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Does that mean that the client doesn't need to actually be an Amazon seller, or do they need to sell on Amazon in order to be included in this program?
Yeah, so the way I think about it is you do still need an Amazon Seller Central account. So you do need to register, you need to go through all those steps, you need your login credentials, but you don't actually need to sell on Amazon.com. You don't need to have a live listing, you don't need to generate sales on Amazon, you just need the Seller Central account.
Although something tells me that most of the people here sell on Amazon in one way or another, right? So in an hypothetical situation where you don't, you can basically still use MCF.
Got it. And I think you pretty much answered it, but just to clarify, you said that Amazon can receive returns that are coming back from the customer?
We do, yeah. So today what we do for MCF is if you get a return, so again, like the way we think about MCF is, we are responsible for fulfilling the order to your customer, but the actual step of being in touch with your customer about returns, issues with the order, that's still for the seller because we don't want to get in the way of that sort of interaction. And so if there is a return, the way that we operate today is that we will provide an RMA, a return merchandise authorization, directly back to you. And then you can send that over to your customer, and then the customer can just put the item back in the box like they normally would, put the RMA in the box, and then that RMA will have a return address that they need to send that item back to. They can send it back, and then it'll come to our fulfillment center, and we will receive it back like we do any other piece of inventory. And so that's like the sort of same process that we have for FBA in some ways. The one difference is that we today don't have a shipping label, so it's still sort of up to you and or your customer to actually ship the item back to our fulfillment center. But once we do receive it back, we will absolutely put it back in your inventory and make it available for sale again.
And is that return associated with the original order that you shipped out?
It is, yes.
And it would have the same, like, I know generally with like Amazon orders, like you'll have like, Sellercloud stores it as a note, but you'll send us in the report, like if it's a sellable, unsellable, all that's stored.
Yep, all of that still applies. Yep. So like within your order, you'll actually see all the return events back to Amazon. And then yes, once it actually gets received back, it'll show up in your inventory just like any other piece of inventory. And yeah, we do what we call grading. So we determine whether it's sellable, it's unsellable, and we give that same response back to the seller and Sellercloud as well. So all the same things that you're already used to with returns, you'll see all the same data points for MCF.
Okay, this was definitely very insightful. Was there anything about this program that you think we may have missed?
I don't know, I think we covered the good stuff. But if anyone have questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Hello. It's kind of a question, I guess, to both. On the timing side, so is it a setting that is for all products? So if we say we want our items to be expedited, is that for all our products that are then going to be in that level? Or can we set for different products, we want this one fulfilled this way and this one fulfilled at a different speed? That's the first question, kind of. And then the other portion would be with integration. Let's say we send certain inventory to FBA, and let's say we have on our Shopify site that product. How are we expressing that speed? Maybe Sellercloud does that. How are we expressing that that's going to be delivered to the customer either standard or expedited or 2-day? And what happens if it then switches, our FBA depletes, and we're at 0, and now we only have product in our own warehouse that would then be standard only? Does Sellercloud know that that's now moving to standard shipping, or are we setting that on the actual platform itself for each product? And we got to be careful that that product that says expedited, that it's only going to be shipped FBA, and if it at any point sells out and reverts back to our own fulfillment, that we have to change that on our product level.
I think that's really a question that I'll be able to answer better, although it does remind me that I believe you guys have like a fast tag type of idea that you allow Sellercloud to post, or the clients to post on their site.
You mean the badge?
Yeah.
Yeah, although it's slightly different than the question is, but basically if someone is selling, for example, on Shopify, on the checkout process, you can put a badge that you can download from our website, supplychain.amazon.com. You can just download the badge and put it on your shopping cart. So then it kind of make your customer feel comfortable that you're using Amazon to fulfill your orders, and then they know that they will actually get it and they will get it on time. So some use it to improve conversion rate. But for the ship speed, I do feel like maybe Sellercloud, maybe you should take it first and then we will answer, because it's also depend on your technology and what you send back to Shopify, because basically the ship speed, if you sell on Shopify, you can set rule on the Shopify side. So you can decide that you offer free shipping and then you put the setting only on the cheapest option, which is the 3 to 5 days, or you can tell them it's a $5 flat rate and then you decide what shipping you want to offer. Basically, if you offer them all options and they pay for it, they should see 3 options, the 3 to 5 days, 2 days, and 1 day.
Oh, you have mine.
But I will let Sellercloud,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe,
From the Sellercloud, and when you post the product, you could obviously list what shipping lead times you want to offer,
my slide,
and
the
if you
close line.
offer expedited and so on. So that's obviously something that, many people will want to offer clients. Now, the way we take that information and send it back to to Amazon, is really dependent on how you want us to automatically ship these orders via Amazon's fulfillment. We have very many different ways that we can do it. Some clients are doing it on a manual basis just because they're doing it on a infrequent basis. But the most popular way that people are doing is that they'll have what's called a post-order plugin, where based on specific rules, will automatically ship the order via MCF, and you could give us what those rules are. Like if it's a standard shipment, request standard from Amazon. If it's expedited, request expedited, and things like that. I know that Adele did work on the order rules, where basically, based on specific criteria, you could set how the order should be fulfilled or what the criteria should be for that order. Right now, it does not yet support the ship via FBA option, but that is something that we're going to be working on and hope to have in the near future. So hopefully that will give additional flexibility for people to manage the rules on their own instead of relying on a post-order plugin for that.
Okay, thank you.
On standard shipping, let's say standard shipping, I've noticed that a lot of times Amazon they'll deliver it by the date that they promise, but they won't generate the tracking number or ship the order till, like, let's say a day before. And a lot of times that tracking number getting generated much later can cause frustration, or if you're using it for a different platform, it can cause issues. Is there any plan to or way to have that tracking number generated within a certain amount of time after you place that MCF order?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So today, what we do for standard is kind of two things. One is the SLA that we promise is that once the order is created, and assuming that your unit is on hand, it's in inventory in our fulfillment centers, we will be able to ship it, i.e. generate a tracking number, within 2 days. And we do that at a rate of 95%. The reason that we set that rate is because we think that's what applies to most marketplace policies for standard shipping specifically. Now, if you want to generate your tracking number more quickly, so say within like 1 day, we tend to suggest expedited and priority for that, because those ship speeds tend to like match that kind of SLA. With all that said, like totally acknowledge that is like a huge like frustration point of, you have an order, you want to pay standard fees, and you want a tracking number more immediately. At least today with our technology, we only generate tracking numbers once we actually ship out the item. So that's kind of like the thing that we're rubbing up against. With that said, it's an area that we continue to focus on, and you'll, I think, see those SLAs improve as we continue to like launch new features internally. But at least for now, if you want tracking numbers within 1 day, as far as our public-facing SLAs go, would suggest expedited and priority.
Thank you.
Hi, so we sell apparel and we're very SKU heavy. The customers might order, let's say 3 to 5 SKUs. So what my concern is for the customer experience when they're getting their package, typically if it's 3 to 5 SKUs, it could be 2 to 3 packages. It's confusing for the customer. They receive multiple packages, not their full order. Typically they'll contact us. Is there anything on the roadmap maybe to hold the SKUs and ship them in one package?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We don't have anything explicit on our roadmap for that. The way that it leads today works for Amazon, and I think I'd love to maybe learn a little bit more and maybe catch you outside on kind of like what you're looking for here. Today what we have is kind of a combination of, we have the promise that we generate for a customer. So say we need to deliver this within 5 days. We see where those units are in our network, and then we do as much as possible to consolidate that inventory because it's good for us. It reduces costs, and it's also better for customers as well. So that's what we have today. With that said, like there could be situations where we don't have boxes that are big enough on hand that we have to like split the order across multiple things. In general, we find that with MCF, we have about the same sort of units per box as FBA does. But that's not to say that there aren't these outliers and exceptions that lead to weird cases where customers are receiving multiple things. But while maybe you have the mic, I'm curious, like, would you want even like an option to say like, hey, no matter what the promise is, just only ship it in a single box? Or how do you sort of think about that with your customers?
Yeah, having that option would be good. There are definitely customers that prefer one box.
Great. That's good to know. And we can look into the feasibility of that, but that's helpful feedback.
Okay, sure.
Was there any other questions?
I guess this is more of a question for Sellercloud. If Amazon has the capabilities, great, but does Sellercloud have the capabilities to break up a kit on a different platform and create 2 multi-channel fulfillment orders to ship from Amazon to the customer?
Generally, we do have, and it's very common that people have a post-order plugin that will send the orders to ship via Amazon broken down by the components of the kit. So it wouldn't necessarily be 2 multi-channel fulfillment orders, but it would be, let's say, one order made up of the components of the kit. So if, let's say, it's a kit of 3 different items, we'll break it down into those 3 items. And that would be based on a setting. Like some people do break it up, some people, it also depends on how you have those items in Amazon. Because if you have them as a kit, then you'd obviously want to fulfill them as a kit. But to answer your question, yes, we do have the option to break up onto the component level.
And in regards to Amazon, the new thing came out called bundles for Amazon. Are you familiar if that also qualifies for multi-channel fulfillment?
Yeah, so today we don't exactly offer that feature. What we really kind of, or at least today, are a service where you have to add individual items to your order. And we don't sort of today offer a feature where you can bundle multiple items together and treat it as like a single unit that you fulfill.
I mean, Amazon has that capability now, but I'm just wondering if they have that on multi-channel fulfillment.
Yeah. So I'm saying
But I
with
guess not.
MCF we don't. Yeah,
Okay.
we sort of treat it as single items that you add to your order. The one thing that I will say though is with our pricing that we have with MCF, if you do add multiple items to your order, the per unit price does decrease. So we kind of say, you add more units to your item, we're going to charge you less on a per unit basis. So it's not quite the same as the bundle I know that you're talking about, but there is some economic advantage to adding more items in your order.
I will add, and Sanjay, tell me if I'm wrong here, that if you have like a specific bundle that is very popular or 2 items that you always sell together, you can send them to our warehouse as a bundle with 1 SKU. And then we will just ship it as an item, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it can also be a solution if you have specific items that normally goes together.
Yep, that's definitely an option. The one thing that we don't do then is, yeah, if you ship it into us separately, we don't sort of bundle it together like that is, at least not today for MCF.
This was definitely very interesting. I'm sure everyone learned a lot, and we really appreciate that you took the time to join us today. It's definitely a partnership that we value, and we're excited that you were able to join us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.